Hi all, I'm Tony Hyun, the Director of UX, CXA, and UI Development at Royal Cyber. As always, thank you so much for your interest in our AI webinar series. Today was supposed to be our final chapter in our series on the real-world use of AI in UX, CXA, BA, and UI development, but we had to reschedule our webinar on AI and customer experience analysis. That webinar, the CXA webinar, is now going to be on the 27th. Today, we're going to discuss how AI is used in UI development. Now, UI development is an area that's seen massive improvements in automation using AI. In areas like code generation, design adjustments, and personalization, AI is helping improve efficiencies by suggesting code snippets, optimizing layouts, and analyzing user behavior to tailor interfaces in real time. Again, a few of the key areas where AI is utilized in UI development is in one, code generation and auto-completion. AI-powered tools can generate boilerplate code, suggest code completions, even write complex functions based on natural language descriptions, significantly speeding up development time. Two, in personalization, by analyzing user data like browsing history and preferences, AI can tailor content and interface elements to individual users, creating a more personalized experience. And three, in performance optimization, AI can identify performance bottlenecks in front-end code and suggest optimizations like code splitting, lazy loading, and caching strategies to improve page load times. But it is critical to remember that we're not quite there yet. For all of the good that is happening with AI and development, human oversight is still needed. While AI can automate many tasks, developers still need to understand the logic behind AI suggestions and make informed decisions. Okay, today we are extremely lucky to have Santosh and Varatha, the UI development discipline leads at Royal Cyber. Santosh and Varatha will share with us how Royal Cyber uses AI for UI development, what works and what doesn't. As always, the opinions you're about to hear are based on our experiences in integrating AI. Many of you have different experience, and that's what makes the world go round. We love to hear all of your opinions. Okay, Santosh and Varatha, can you please share with us a little bit about your backgrounds? Santosh, can you go first?
Yeah, Tony, thank you so much. Yeah, about me, like I've been in UI UX space for over a decade now, and under Royal Saber, I lead our efforts in modern front-end architecture and then building scalable component-driven design systems. In the last couple of years, I have been especially focused on how AI can enhance developer productivity and help streamline handoffs between like design and development.
Thanks, Varatha. I'm saying thanks, Santosh. Varatha, can you share a little bit about your background?
Yes, Tony. Yeah, with over 18 years experience of IT experience, I specialize in web technology, technical support, and this expertise in front-end framework architecture and e-commerce front-end implementation, storefront implementations. Proficiency in modern JavaScript frameworks, headless UI, server-side rendering. I have extensive hands-on experience with the leading CMS platform, including SAP Hybris Commerce and Adobe Experience Managers and other commerce tools. Additionally, I have leveraged AI in UI development to enhance user experience, driving innovations and great development efficiency, Tony.
Thank you, Santosh and Varatha. Okay, you know, saying there's a lot of swirl around AI and front-end development would be a massive understatement. I think out of the four areas we've covered in our webinars, UI development is seeing the most action around adopting AI. Can you both give us kind of a bird's eye view of how Royal Cyber is embracing AI in UI development? Santosh, can you go first?
Yeah, Tony, sure. Yeah, at Royal Saber, we have integrated AI at multiple stages of our UI development lifecycle. So we use AI-driven design assistants to help translate wireframes directly into production ready code, like using tools like Figma plugin backed by large language models. And we also embedded AI in our CI/CD pipeline. So, for instance, like we use AI models to run visual regression tests, catching even subtle UI inconsistencies across browsers and devices.
Great. Thanks, Santosh. Varatha, can you share your thoughts, please?
Yes, Tony. Um, and yes, and building on what Santosh said, especially for our e-commerce client, AI is helping us push the boundary of what a dynamic UI can do. So we are leveraging AI not just during a development, but also post-development. One of the key area is a real-time users behavior analysis, AI tracking how the user interact with your storefronts, then dynamically surfing contents, promotions, and even UI layout based on that behaviors. And another area is automated accessibility check. Instead of just lint rule, we use AI model train on accessibility pattern to flag contrast issues, issuing, missing AIA array rows, and even making suggestions for all texts, all within the development flow. So overall, we are not using AI just for speeding. We are using to help create smart, more adaptive, and accessible UI that responds to the real customers' needs in a real time, Tony.
Great. Thanks, guys. You know, I was listening to an interview with Ezra Kine and Ben Buchanan, the special advisor on AI in the Biden administration. And Mr. Buchanan thinks humans will not touch code in 2 years. A pretty bold statement. From your perspectives, you know, what's the biggest way AI is reshaping front-end development today? Santosh, can you start us off?
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, actually, it is moving fast, and honestly, it is fascinating to see like just how much of repetitive work AI can now handle. And one of the biggest changes we are experiencing is how UI is automating those routine front-end tasks, like things like scaffolding out layout components and generating forms, and even suggesting like full snippet of responsive code, like from a simple prompt. So, for example, like you can just type something like create a card with an image, title, and a button, and the AI gives you a clean functional components in seconds. So, and that used to take some 20 minutes minimum, like before. So, like if you have like hundreds of components in your project, and if you use AI for those repetitive tasks, so that's a lot of time saved there. But it is not just about speed, and this shift is changing the way we think about development. So, developers are moving from being just a coder to more like curators and architects. So we are also reviewing AI suggested code, like refining the logic, making decisions that align with the design systems, and spending more time on accessibility, performance, and user experience. The things that really matters. So yeah, the productivity boost is real, but more importantly, AI is allowing us to reinvest our time into the parts of development that requires judgment, creativity, and strategy. So the things AI just isn't ready to do on its own.
Thanks, Santosh. Varatha, what are your thoughts in this area?
Yes, and it's not about just speed, it's about the quality too. AI can now recommend accessibility improvement, detect inconsistent spacing, and suggest responsive layout fixing. Almost like have an assistant watching your code involving in a real time, Tony.
Great. Great insights, guys. You know, both of you seem to be saying that AI is great at making suggestions and recommendations, but we're not quite to the point of releasing AI to code without supervision. Is this accurate, Santosh? What do you think?
Yeah, Tony. And AI is a friend, like fantastic assistant. It can suggest, recommend, and even pre-generate entire UI blocks, but it it still lacks context and intent. So it doesn't understand the why behind a business decision or a design nuance. So while it can save us time and offer great starting points, we are definitely like not at a place where we can just hand it the keys and say, go build the app. So you still need a human in the loop to guide, validate, and ensure the quality uh, is met. So especially when it comes to things like accessibility and performance trade-offs, or how a feature fits into the overall user journey. So so you can just think of AI as a really fast, smart, and smart intern, and which is helpful, but not ready to ship code without a review.
Yeah, thanks, Santosh. Varatha, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. I would add that. So while AI can write a code that looks correct, but it doesn't always align with your architectural decisions, naming conversions, component structuring. So we have seen its suggestion code that technically works but does not scale, isn't maintainable in a long time. So and in UI development, small addition is a matter. The space systems, the accessibility considerations, and how consistency in fails with the rest of our applications. So these are the area where human experience is still leading. So yes, AI is incredible at accelerating the grant work, but without supervising, it's easy to wrap up the technical debate fast. Sweet spots right now, it's a collaborations using AI to handle the boilerplate while developers stay focused on this experience, logic, and long-term quality of the products. It's not about resisting automations. It's about steering it, Tony.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Santosh and Ratha. You know, one of the goals that we've mentioned many times of this webinar series is to share, real world examples of how AI tools and the processes that surround them work. To hopefully separate the fact from fiction. Can you share some of the more useful UI? Or, I'm sorry. Can you share some of the more useful AI powered code generation tools that you've used, and how do they fit into your workflow? What do you think, Varatha?
Yeah, absolutely. GitHub Copilot is probably the one so we rely on the most. So it becomes part of our daily workflow. It's really good at generating boilerplate code, scaffolders of components, even helping with the utility functions, API integrations, patterns. It's just speed up the repetitive parts so that we can focus on the structures and logics and more. So we are also exploring some designs to code tool. Anima is the one, and then there are Sigma plugins that can export React code directly from the designs that are still evolving. But they help us move faster when we are doing prototypes aligned with the dev or design teams. So there are not perfect yet, but we are pointing us towards the futures where design and hands off getting much more smoother, Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Santosh. What are your thoughts on this?
Um, yeah, Tony. And the key thing here is the integration. So these tools plug into the environments we already use, like Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ. So they feel pretty seamless, but we are careful about like how we use them. And we have also built in a code review checkpoints early in the process. So so you can just think of a suggestion like a junior developer's first draft. So they are helpful, they get things started, but they need review. So we never just copy paste what a gives us. We treat it as a base to work from and not a final product.
Yeah, great analogy, Santosh. Like a junior developer first draft. Varatha, you mentioned GitHub Copilot. I've heard it referred to as a coding assistant that helps developers write code faster and more efficiently. Can you go into a little bit more detail on how you use GitHub Copilot in your workflow? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great way to put it. GitHub Copilot. So really, it's like having a supercharging code assistants sitting behind you. So in our workflow, we use primarily for three things. One is scaffolding, suggestions, and the speed up. So for example, when we are starting a new component, saying the product or dynamic filters for an e-commerce applications, Copilot can instantly generate the basic structures based on the commands or few lines of code. It understands the pattern from our previous works, so it often nails the structures that we just a little prompt. So we use an utility functions, something like formatting prices, handling dates, or generating any keys. So there are repetitive low-risk tasks where Copilot saves us minutes and add up over a day. And because it's an integrator right into the Visual Studio Code, so it does not break our flow. It suggested code in a real time, almost like a auto-completed, but the way smarter. So the key is we don't just accept everything it suggests. We receive tweaking and ensures fits our standard, but it gets us 60 to 70% of the way there. So what we have found in a Copilot does not just speed up, it's reduce our context switchings. You stay in your zone and build faster and focus more on an architecture and UX than on the boilerplate code.
Great.
Tony.
Thanks, Ratha. You know, in our AI and CXA session, Nanda mentioned that he expects to see some of the biggest improvements in CXA. You know, in AI-driven predictive analysis. You know, Santosh, why do you think AI seems so well suited for predicting behaviors? Oh, you're on mute, Santosh.
Yeah, Tony. Sorry. That's a really interesting point, and I agree with Nanda. The predictive analysis is one of those areas where AI just fits. Why? Because AI thrives on patterns, and customer behavior at scale it is full of patterns. So when someone browses an e-commerce site, for example, like so every click, scroll, or and the pause leaves behind signals. So individually, they may not mean much, but when you aggregate the data from thousands or millions of users, AI can detect trends and subtle correlations that humans just can't spot manually. So AI models are really good at saying, like user who did A and B often do C next. So whether it is predicting cart abandonment or identifying customers likely to convert or recommending like next best actions, AI can turn historical behavior into forward-looking insights. And the reason this is so powerful is because it is not just about reacting to users' needs; it's about anticipating them, and that is what turns a decent user experience into a truly intuitive one.
Yeah. Well put, Santosh. You know, another area that's particularly interesting to me is how AI is being used to drive personalization. Being able, you know, to analyze user data and tailor the user experience in real time is just fascinating. You know, Varatha, in what ways have you used AI to drive personalization, and how do you measure its impact?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tony. And yes, personalization is one of the area where UI really shines. So one of the things we have done is integrated AI into our personalization engine to dynamically adjust our dashboard based on these user roles and behavior history. So for instance, if a user hasn't interacted with the particular features in a while, so we quite push that features into the background and hide it. So on the flip side, if there is a tool so they are regularly using, we sub it right up front so that their experience feels more focused and less clusters. So we start seeing a measurable difference in user engagements after that. So more clicks on primary actions, long time spending on high value features, and just better user satisfaction so overall, Tony.
Great, thank you, Rob. Santosh, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, Tony. Like adding to what those points, like we have also like taken it a step further with real-time layout adjustments. So let's say like someone is a power user, so they have been logging in every day and navigating quickly and using advanced filters. So for them, we serve a denser UI with more data points visible at once. But if it is a new user, uh, or someone who logs in infrequently, we simplify things like fewer elements and clearer cells, sorry, calls to actions, and a more guided experience. So that way, the UI evolves with the user's familiarity. To measure impact, we track metrics like time to first action and drop off points and journey completion rates, and it is less about vanity metrics and more about is this user able to do what they are like what they came here to do, uh, like faster and with less friction. If yes, then we can know the personalization is working.
Right. Santosh, can you explain this real-time layout adjustment using AI, just a little bit more. First, how is AI being used to make the call that the customer needs a different layout? You've mentioned a little bit about that in your previous explanation, but maybe you can go in a little bit more detail on that. And second, how is the layout generated? Is it just a matter of pulling in, different content, or is AI actually designing a different layout on the fly?
Yeah, great question. uh, because like real-time layout adjustment sounds like magic, but there is actually a clear process behind it. So first, how does AI know a user needs a different layout? So it starts with behavioral signals. So we can look at usage patterns, like how often someone logs in and what actions they take and how much time they spend on certain sections, like even like scroll depth or abandonment points. So we can feed that data into lightweight machine learning models. So often classifications or clustering models. So which helps us group users into behavioral segments like new users, power users, or occasional users, and so on. So once that classification happens, the system knows which layout to type is more appropriate for each group. So now the second part is how the layout is generated. It is not just it's not that AI is sitting there designing new UIs from scratch like human designers do. It is more of a modular layout system. So we can predefine layout variations like say a simplified version, a standard version, and a data dense version. And AI decides which one to serve and which modules to activate or hide based on users' context. So yes, the UI is selecting the content, but it is also choosing layout structures like whether to use tabs, accordions, or data tables based on what we know about users' intent and proficiency. And the best part is it happens in real time. So as the user logs in and navigates, the layout adapts seamlessly without needing a full page reload. It is mix of smart decision making and flexible UI architecture working together.
Right. Thanks, Santosh. In the spirit of these webinars and trying to keep it real, I know that many in our audience are considering ways to integrate AI into their front end workflows. What considerations do you keep in mind when integrating AI tools into an existing tool chain or CI/CD workflows? Varatha, what do you think here?
Yeah, sure. Uh, the first version control is a key, and AI generator code still should still go through the same peer review and linting. So we also test AI tooling in sandbox branchings to avoid noises in the main repositories. The security and data privacy also the matter, especially if the UI tool locks code or send data externally. So we prefer still hosting model. So where possible to ensure the code in anonymously during the suggested training, Tony.
Yeah, Rafi, you mentioned, you touched on an area that I'm sure is a big concern with many in our audience, security and privacy when using AI. You mentioned preferring self-hosted models. Are there any other best practices that you can share?
Yeah, yes, Tony. Yes, that's a great question. Security and privacy are the top of mind of us, especially when integrating AI into the client-facing applications. Using self-hosted model is definitely one of the way we mitigating risk. But there are several other practices we follow to ensure we are keeping the user data safe and secure. The first one is data anonymization is the key, where we are training models or analyzing the user's behaviors. So we make sure that the personal data is anonymized or tokenized before being used actually. So that way, even if there is a breach, there is a no direct links to an individual. Second one is data minimization is another important practices we follow. So we only collecting the data as we absolutely needed. For example, when personalization the user experience or recommended products, so we don't need to know every other data about the users, just an actions that matter for improving the UX. It's reducing our exposure to the sensitive data informations. So that we ensure the data encryptions in both transits at the rest. So whether it's a user data sent between the client and the server side, or even internal data is used for AI training, we use encryption standards like TSL and AES to protect everything. So last, the model transparency and explainability so are also the vital role here actually. So if you are using AI to make decisions that affect the users, so we want to be able to explain how those decisions are made, whether it's a AI driven recommendations or automated interactions. We ensure that there is a clear traceable process behind it, which help with both security and trust. So we also continuously auditing our AI system, especially when rollout of new features to make sure they align with the security standard and comply with the regulations, Tony.
Great. Thanks, Rafa. One of the challenges with using AI for development since the beginning is maintaining code quality. As with everything generated using AI, you can't accept everything at face value. How do you ensure AI generated code aligns with your team's coding standards or design system rules? Santosh, you want to go first?
Yeah, Tony, you are absolutely right. And that is one of the biggest challenges we are facing while using AI in our development. The code it generates can be helpful, but it's not always production ready, and definitely not always aligned with our team's style or the design system out of the box. So here is how we approach it. So first, we treat AI generated code the same way we treat a junior developer's pull request. It's a starting point and not a final product. So we always run it through the same code review process, uh, like we use for our team members code. That includes automated linting, formatting, and static analysis tools that catch any violations of our internal coding standards. Second, we have set up a custom code snippets and rules inside our linter and CI pipelines to enforce adherence to things like naming conventions and component patterns and accessibility guidelines, and even our design token usage. And that way, even if AI writes something outside our standards, it gets flagged early. And third, we do a lot of pair programming with AI. So meaning we will let tools like GitHub Copilot suggest something, but we guide it carefully. For example, we might prompt it to use a specific UI component from our internal library, or to structure the things in a way that aligns with our design systems. So the key really is to not treat AI as a black box, but as a helpful assistant,
Great.
and that still
Thank.
needs coaching. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
yeah, funny. So yeah, like we as a helpful assistant that still needs coaching and quality control. So when used that way, it can absolutely save time without compromising quality.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Santosh. Um, a topic we covered in previous webinars is when will AI be able to truly think like a human? To understand both the tactical and emotional reasons behind a design. Do you think AI can ever understand the why behind a design, or is that still a human responsibility? Varatha, what do you think here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tony. And honestly, it gets to the heart of where UI ends and where the human creativity begins. Right now, AI is an excellent and understanding pattern, but not purpose. So it can analyze tons of design data, predict and what might convert better, or even generating interactions that looks good. But it still does not understand the emotional or the strategic intents behind the design. So, for example, the AI might suggest a hero layout because it's statically effective, but it won't know why we choose to break that patterns for a specific campaign. So maybe to provoke, maybe to delight, maybe to slow down the users intentionally. So that nuisance, uh, uh, the emotional context, the storytelling, the cultural sensitivity, and still very much sitting with us, the designers and the developers. So can AI eventually get there? So possibly we might get models trained out on the UI pattern, but on psychologically response, accessibility need, business goal. But for now, why it's still a human responsibility. So AI can help us to execute how faster and better. So, but they still comes from us, Tony.
Yeah, Varatha, I'm sensing that your answer is a politically correct no or never. But when AGI or artificial general intelligence becomes a reality, do you think this will still be the case?
Yeah, Tony. So you're absolutely right to bring up the AGI. It's an excellent prospect, but we are in a long way from that reality. If and when AGA does comes to the life, it could fundamentally change the way we think about the AI in development. So AGA would, in theoretically, they have an ability to understand the context, intents, and even emotionally or physically emotions beyond the decisions. So things that the current AI model does not grasp. In the word, yes, it's possible that the UI that AI could not only suggest it but also autonomously design, develop, and refine interfaces with a level of sophisticated so we could not imagine today. So, however I think never part. Never part is more about how we are handling the UI today. So, with the heavy human oversight, even with the AGA, we still need a human to make high-level decisions, set ethical guidelines, and ensure that AI align with the user's needs and safeties. The key thing to remember here is even the AGI is a powerful features. So that's still likely to be the layer of human involvements when it comes to define a purpose, values, and ensure that the AI is operating with the ethical boundaries. So that's not something I see in AI, even it's the most advanced form, fully replacing Tony.
Right. All right. Thank you, Varadha. All right. $1 million question here. When is it time to hand the coding reins over to AI, or should you? How do you avoid over automation in a world where AI promises to do it all? Santosh, what do you think here?
Yeah, Tony, I think the honest answer is like we don't hand over the reins completely, at least like not yet. Maybe like not even for certain parts of the job. So the way we see it, AI is a powerful tool, but not a replacement. So, uh, uh, so the question we always ask is like, is this task repetitive, and mechanical, or data heavy, or is it something that needs human judgment, empathy, and context? If it's the former, like generating boilerplate code, recommending layout options, or optimizing for performance, absolutely, AI can help there. But where, and that's where it shines. But when it comes to interpreting users' intent and balancing trade-offs, or making design choices that reflects brand values, and that's still a human call. And over automation becomes a risk when we let AI act without understanding the purpose behind the task. So that's why we build in checkpoints and regular code reviews, UI audits, and design retros to make sure like automation isn't quite like quietly drifting us away from quality, accessibility, or user empathy.
Right. Thank you, Santosh. Varatha, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. We often say in our team, automated the repeatable, not the meaningful. Just because AI can do something doesn't matter it should. So in fact, over automation can actually slow down you if you are constantly overriding what AI is doing. And it's about the balance, giving AI enough freedoms to accelerate the boring stuffs while keeping the human on the top of the loops for the part. So there are that really define the product experience that how you should stay efficiency and intentionally, Tony.
Great, thank you, Varatha. You guys make it sound so simple. Automate the repetitive, protect the meaningful. But obviously, in the real world, you get pressures from different from different disciplines. Like, if you're asked by the PM to do it faster or by sales to do it cheaper, what do you do, Santosh? Where do you draw the line? What makes something meaningful in your mind?
You're right. It sounds simple, but in practice, it's not always so clear cut. And and there is definitely pressure from PMs to deliver faster, and from leaderships to cut costs. So it becomes a balancing act between speed, quality, and purpose. So what helps us draw the line is asking, if we automate this, so what's the risk of losing users trust, creativity, or long term maintainability? And that's our filter. So for example, like generating a UI components, sure, like you can automate that, but designing the on onboarding flow for a new product, which is a meaningful task. That's where tone, emotion, and even like cultural nuance come into play. And and that's not something AI understands it. So if the use if the output feels generic, if it loses our brand voice, and that's when we say, nope, this is not like uh, nope, this one needs a human touch. So for us, meaningful is equal to anything that uh, anything that directly affects like users' perception and product differentiation or long-term scalability. And that's not where you want to cut corners. We have learned the hard way that over automating in the wrong places just leads to rework, and, and that costs more in the long run. So ironically, saying no to AI in some areas is what actually helps us move faster when it comes, where it comes.
Great. All right. Thank you, Santosh. All right. Time for the final question. You guys have been amazing. What advice would you give to a front end to give to an agency or a company contemplating starting to explore AI assisted development? Varatha, can you start us off?
Yeah, sure, Tony. So for any front-end developer just starting to explore AI assistant development, my biggest advice would be start small and start now. So don't wait for some perfect tool or a complete process. Just get hands-on on with something like get a Copilot or Sigma to code in plugin and begin experiencing on it. So treat AI like a collaborators, not a magic word. Pay attention to why it's suggesting something, not just what it's suggesting. So that curious will help you to build a sense of what AI will actually be helpful and when it just guessing. And also stay grounded in a fundamental. So better you understand the CSS, React, or any frameworks, performance principles, accessibility, the more you will get AI tool. It's not just replacing your skills. It's about extending it, Tony.
Okay. Santosh, what do you think?
Yeah, totally agree. I would just add like so build your AI intuition. So by that I mean don't just use the tools. Don't just use the tools, and you reflect on how they change your workflow. So did something speed you up? Did it introduce bugs? Did it suggest something like clever you wouldn't have thought of? So that reflection is where the learning happens. And talk to your peers, share prompts, and trade tips. So this is such a fast moving space, and we are all figuring it out together. Ultimately, AI won't make you a better developer, but how you use AI can. So approach it with curiosity, discipline, and a little skepticism, and you will stay ahead of the curve.
Great. Okay, thanks, guys. You've been amazing. And also, thank you to all of you in the audience. You've been amazing as well. Again, another big thank you to Santosh and Varatha for helping us understand what's possible in using AI in support of UI development. I believe out of the four disciplines we've covered in the last 4 weeks, UI development has the most misconceptions when it comes to AI. Earlier I quoted Ben Buchanan saying, code will not be touched by humans in 2 years. And obviously this is a guy who should be the smartest person in the room in regards to AI because he's advising the president. But based on what I'm hearing today, Mr. Buchanan may not be entirely accurate. I think if nothing else, what I hope you take away from this series is you need to scrutinize everything you hear in regard to AI. All right, one final thought I'd like to leave on. Creativity is a uniquely human trait. We all can create. It's really what makes us all human. Keanu Reeves said in his epic battle with Elon Musk, "We all gravitate towards art that is created by a human because it's not perfect. It has all the imperfections that come from messy human emotions. AI isn't capable of this because AI doesn't understand loss or love, or may never get it because you need to experience it. Whichever side of the divide you're on, either AI replacing humans or not, please continue having these kinds of conversations about what is right. We need to all have an opinion on the role of AI in our lives. Again, thanks for joining. Okay, we're open for questions.